It's been a decade since Ryan Backmann founded Project Cold Case to advocate for victims and families of unsolved murders. In that time, the group has expanded around the globe and helped put dozens of cases to rest. He joins us now to talk about the group's milestone. Ryan Backmann, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me again, Ann.
So, you've been at this in a professional sense for 10 years now, but your involvement in cold case murders started well before that with your own father's case,
Correct. Yeah.
Clifford Backmann.
Almost 16 years ago. October will be 16 years. My dad was murdered here in Jacksonville, Florida. The case remains unsolved and clearly changed the trajectory of my life, my family. You never can prepare for that, no matter how many shows you've watched on TV, no matter how much you think you understand about the judicial system and the criminal justice system. It's never enough. It's a very traumatic journey that never truly ends. And I think that's probably what I'm most proud of in 10 years of work is that this is a journey of healing, and it has always been that for me. And I hope to offer that to the other families that have been impacted by these unsolved murders.
And you have worked a enormous amount of cases at this point, about 1,800 cases in all that you have helped, publicize, get word out, and 70 that have been resolved.
Right.
Can you kind of describe to us what resolution means,
Yeah.
how you describe what that is?
Yeah, it's like a lot of things. The more detail you get into it, the more complicated it becomes. We like to look at things as solved or unsolved,
Right.
right? And the goal is to solve something. But what we've learned in 70 plus case resolutions is that, what exactly does that look like to a family? What are you searching for in that quest for answers and justice? Because we have had cases where the offender is already dead. And so a family's maybe waiting for their day in court, and then they finally find out who did it, and there's no accountability. The case is resolved, it's closed, you know who did it, but you didn't get that day in court. Or maybe the offender is locked up on other charges, and they're not going to be charged in your loved one's case. And then, of course, we have the arrests and the convictions or the plea deals, that are kind of everybody's, universal thought of how the process works, and then unfortunately, not included in those 70 is we have, 8 or 9 cases where an offender was arrested and then later the charges were dropped. And now that case goes back into the unsolved pile, with no resolution.
One thing that is very exciting, I think, when a case that has been cold gets reignited in some way, and you're actually involved right now with an international case with
Yeah.
a Jacksonville connection that is really fascinating and perhaps gives the family cause for hope. Can you tell us a little bit about the Grogan case?
Yeah. So the Grogan family, they were a military family. They were stationed in Germany in the early 90s, 1992. There was some domestic situations between the mother and father, and there was also 2 young children in the household, Stefan and Dale Jr. And so one evening, there's a domestic dispute that's so violent and loud that neighbors are awoken and they come to the door to find out what's going on. Dale Sr. answers the door. He says everything is fine. Everybody goes about their business. And it's not recognized until months later that Tina and the 2 boys have not been seen. They're missing, and they've been missing for months. And so imagine 1992, Tina's family has been trying to call. We don't have cell phones. We don't have, unlimited calling, like you're calling long distance. The phone is either busy or nobody answers, or if, Dale Sr. answers, oh, she's not available, nobody's available. So this goes on for months with the family back here in the United States, can't get in touch with their loved ones. And so they have to then navigate a process of going above Dale Sr.'s head in the military to find somebody that can go knock on that door and see where Tina and the boys are. And that's where they discover that they have been missing for months. Their remains have never been found. They have never been discovered, somewhere else, living in, assumed identities. I mean, we're talking about, a couple, a mother and 2 young children in a country where they don't speak the language, where they don't have money, they don't have, car, they don't have access. So it's a criminal act, very likely took place. Well, Dale Sr. got out of the military and he moved to Jacksonville, and he's been living here. And we didn't know that, but a number of years ago, Tina's mom reached out to us. We started raising awareness for Tina and the boys on our website through our social media platforms. And then earlier this year, we got a call from the Army that said, hey, we've reopened this case. We see that you've done a spotlight on this case and interviewed the family. There's a couple errors in your story, like that phone number you have for information. That's no longer good. Can you update the phone number? We did. And it turns out that Dale got involved in a traveling to meet a minor for sex in Nassau County and got arrested in January. And when he got arrested, he made some statements to somebody that were enough that Nassau County Sheriff's Office called the Army investigators and they reopened the case. So they have been coming into town. They've come to our office, met with us. They've, used our office as kind of a base camp to when they're traveling to do interviews and meet with witnesses, potential witnesses, and reopened, in a 30+ year investigation, that we didn't know had a Jacksonville tie until there was an arrest in another case.
It is very exciting. We should say that the charges that brought him in Nassau County, these to meet a minor for sex, those have been dropped. But there's momentum behind this murder investigation. We just got about 15 seconds.
Yeah, the charges got upgraded to federal charges. So he's still charged with traveling to meet a minor, but federally, not state.
Okay.
The state charges were dropped, but they're picked up federally.
Gotcha. And then the murder investigation continues at pace.
Correct.
We are talking to Ryan Backmann of Project Cold Case. It is their 10th anniversary. We're going to take a 2-minute break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
The Florida Theater presents The Psychology of Cults, a live event exploring how cults form, why people join, and what it takes to leave. Wednesday, October 8th at 8 p.m. Information at floridatheater.com. Museum of Science and History's new exhibition, Mosh Archives, The Story of Us and You, steps you into a treasure trove of memories, now through August 31st. Tickets and information at themosh.org.
Artists set up an apartment inside.
What happens when 8 friends secretly build an apartment inside a mall? Secret Mall Apartment is the wild, true story of defiance, creativity, and 2 tons of cinder block, told through footage they captured while living undetected in a Rhode Island mall for 4 years. Join us Wednesday, August 6th for Film at WJCT Studios. Doors open at 6:30, film at 7. Get tickets now at wjct.org/film.
From January 6th to today, I have felt a profound obligation to speak.
That's retired conservative federal judge J. Michael Ludig. He's called the Trump administration, quote, a reign of lawless aggression by a tyrannical wannabe king.
America is in a crisis, a constitutional crisis.
Judge Ludig joins us on the next On Point.
Today at 11 on WJCT News 89.9.
Floods are hitting harder and catching more Americans off guard. Outdated FEMA maps and insurance gaps are leaving millions exposed as extreme weather worsens and disaster response lags. What will it take to keep people safe? Nationwide flood preparedness, next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, I've been speaking to Ryan Backmann. He is the founder and executive director of Project Cold Case. And he is also leading an organization that's celebrating its 10th anniversary. I want to talk about that event in just a minute. But, we were just talking before the break about this case that has been reopened that seems in some ways like it might have been predicated on domestic violence. And, data show that about 1 in 5 homicide victims are killed by an intimate partner. It's much more common than this sort of stranger danger murder that people are often apprehensive about. And yet it is hard, I think, for people to understand that. Can you talk a little bit about the work that you've done on those cases and also trying to highlight that fact?
Yeah, well, one of the things with those cases are a lot of times the offender is known, so they don't go cold. That was what was very unique about this Grogan case was they were missing before anybody knew. And so while everybody has suspected and had a good idea that the husband was involved, there has not been the physical evidence or the even the bodies recovered. In many domestic situations, the offender is known. Sometimes they turn the weapon on themselves, like we've seen, even here recently in the last few days in the surrounding counties. And then, or they're known right away, and so we don't have a lot of those in in the cases that we work with families, but they do come up, and they usually come up in situations where the victim is missing first, and then hopefully recovered at a later date, and then you can move forward with a prosecution.
This could be a tough case, though. I mean, it's international jurisdiction. It's evidence, as you say, what would exist would be decades old.
Right, and they didn't go in there. There wasn't a crime scene that they went to. It had months to clean up and get rid of any evidence. And without bodies, it's clearly really hard to prosecute a case. It's not impossible, but it's much more difficult. So I think, I don't want to speak for the family, even though we've had a lot of intimate conversations. They want to find Tina and the boys. They want to be able to bring them home and give them a proper burial and know that they're not just in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. So let's talk about this upcoming event because 10 years is quite a milestone for an organization like yours. I mean, you now, you're based here, but you now are in 48 countries and territories, around the world.
Yeah.
And so your work footprint has expanded a lot
It has.
in that time.
It's shocking how many families are just looking for somebody to talk to and looking to share, their experience and their journey. And of course, they want answers and they want resolution, but they also want to heal and they want to be able to sit around the table and laugh and joke and enjoy life without feeling guilty about it because their loved one's gone. And that's what we want to do.
And the resources that you offer go beyond just helping to platform their families' loss. I mean, and that is a big part of it because
Sure.
people do like to see that their victim has not been forgotten.
Correct.
But what are some of the resources that you provide for them?
Well, we do support meetings monthly, both in person for our local families and virtual for families, wherever they are. And we have families from all over the country and beyond that join those monthly support meetings. But we can also meet with them and kind of guide them on what the expectations should be and what they can do to advocate for their own loved one, including setting up a meeting with the investigator, the right questions to ask, the things that will help advance, the investigation, hopefully. Whether a case is active, inactive, whether there's, any new technology out there that may be applied to any evidence that is in the case. And these are things that the families don't really understand because it's not like CSI on TV.
Right. It's so important. I mean,
yeah.
that's information that you don't know unless you kind of know it and have been through it.
Exactly. And we have after 10 years, we have a large network of investigators, forensic scientists, anthropologists. Our reach goes really far in being able to get answers to some of those questions.
So the celebratory event is August 7th at Casa Marina Hotel and Restaurant in Jax Beach from 6 to 9. And it's a free event, but it is also a fundraiser. Can you kind of
Correct,
explain what people can expect?
Yeah, so we're going to have a silent auction. We'll have hors d'oeuvres and drinks. It is free. You don't need a ticket, but you come in and you'll have a slideshow about 10 years of the work that we've done and some of the things that we've accomplished. We'll have a meal. We'll have dinner, and we'll provide a little program where we talk about some of the things that we've done and accomplished and some of the hurdles we've had to overcome in 10 years and how funding is, always one of those things that nobody likes to talk about, but is always the biggest hurdle. And so we'll try to raise money and, we're not charging to get in so that they can hopefully use that savings to bid on items or make a donation and support us moving forward.
And I'm guessing, although it's free, you might be wanting people to RSVP or at least let you know.
Yeah. I mean, we have a Facebook page. It's the Decade of Hope fundraiser, and it's connected to the Project Cold Case Facebook page where you can RSVP. We have a number that we expect that's traditionally after, 10 years of having these events. We know how many people typically show up and we're prepared for, but we would love the public to come out if they don't know who we are, don't understand what we do, and then enjoy. We're also going to host a family picnic on Saturday for the families of the victims, because they're always invited to our events, but we don't ask them to donate. We're not asking them for money. So we were hosting a separate picnic for all those families in town that we serve on Saturday at Austin Park over off Monument Road.
All right. Well, Ryan Backmann, congratulations on 10 years at
Thank
Project
you.
Cold Case. Thanks for the work that you do.
Thank you, Ann.